like a lot of the times being told like you can't wear that. You have to think of how the boys will react, like, you know, and it's the onus is all on us to control how we look and how we present ourselves, and, you know, don't wear like red lipstick because that's provocative and the guys are gonna like, you know. And this is like, I remember being told this when I went to youth group when I was about 14, and I was like, you know, when you're first starting to experience with makeup, and I wore red lipstick and they were like, oh, you can't wear that.
For a young person today, the way women are treated in the church can change the course of their faith journey. For centuries, women have sought equal rights, and some would say that has almost been achieved in the modern era. But within our nation's churches, schools, and youth groups, are our girls being sent different messages from the wider world? As journalists, we wanted to continue our investigation into Christianity by seeking out different women to tell their stories. We wanted to know what keeps their faith strong, what keeps them going against the current, or what makes them choose another path.
So my name's Anna Clement, and I'm 22, and I am the Senior Ministers of Majestic Leo and Suzanne Hanson's PA.
My name's Abby, I'm 19 years old, and I would call myself a Christian.
Hi, I'm Isabel, I am 20 years old, and I am not sure where I stand on the whole faith thing.
For Isabel, Christianity was normal for her as a child, with her parents influencing her faith from a young age.
When I was 10 months old, they moved to Hong Kong to volunteer at an orphanage with the church there. And then when we moved back to New Zealand, like, they ran the Sunday school, they did stuff like that. So, like, they were always, like, quite prominent, like, Christians in my life.
Isabel says she was raised to believe she could be anything, but outside influences such as her school told her otherwise.
I grew up with, you can be anything you want, like, you know, do what you want to do. As you grow up, it's sort of like, oh yeah, you can be anything, but you can't be a leader because you're a girl, like, you're not allowed to do that. Yeah, just like you know, you're going to be submissive as a wife, like, you know, your husband's going to be the one in charge, like, stuff like that started to come through.
Isabel began to question her faith when her Christian peers frequently chose to listen to her boyfriend over her.
There would be guys who, like, I know, I have classes with them, we interact, and we'd walk past them and they'd go, oh, hey Theo, and not acknowledge me at all. And that was just something that I found kind of weird, and I don't know if that was because they were sexist or they just didn't like me, but it definitely gave me that vibe that, like, I wasn't good enough to say hi to, like, you know, and I would say something and it wouldn't be a valid point, and then Theo would repeat what I said and it would become a valid point. Yeah, it was just like, it wasn't like good enough for a girl to say that, but if a guy repeats it, then it suddenly has value.
Abby also grew up in a Christian household, but struggled with her identity as a young woman of faith.
I definitely had this like image of like this smart Christian girl who's like really kind to everyone, and really like that's like who I was, and that was reflected a lot with like how much pressure I felt on myself by like other people in my year group, and not my parents so much, but also like some teachers as well. I would just kind of feel, I would probably create a lot of pressure for myself because of how I had like grown up with that.
Abby says she was angered when a prominent conservative evangelical from Australia came to speak at her school when she was in year 13 and preached on what he saw as a woman's place in society.
One thing that he did that probably hurt quite a lot of people in a year, and now that I think about it, probably hurt me as well a bit, was his perspective on women and women in authority in the church, and where they should be placed, like in comparison to man and in comparison to God. And it just like connects into those like historical connections of like being God and then man and then woman, like it's, you know. And that was probably the one thing that I really struggled with, and my friends really struggled with. I think there were quite a lot of us that were really offended that there's still people in the world that think that being a Christian results in you thinking that men are above you, you know, and I found that very difficult to deal with.
For Abby, finding her faith and who she was as a woman would happen after a year-long stay in Argentina last year.
Before I went out and before I experienced all of this, it was a very much like blind faith because I didn't have anything to like compare it to. I didn't have any like life to get, like I didn't have anything outside of Christianity to compare my life to. And so going out there and seeing so much and like doing so much and realizing that there's like a lot more to life, you know, it definitely like changed my perspective a little bit.
Honor had dreamed of being a ballerina for a long time. But when she was 18, she became sick and had to find new meaning in her life.
After that year, I kind of let that dream go and really had to wrestle with purpose. My faith really became crucial during that time because I actually didn't know what I was supposed to do, or like even a lot of my identity was questioned for myself because I'd always danced and I'd always assumed that that would be my life, and then it like dramatically flipped upside down. And so faith has always been integral to purpose and why I'm here on the planet. And I think that that's a beautiful thing that faith offers.
For Honor, it's her mother who kept her strong in her faith and her understanding of women.
She's been like crucial in probably how I view faith and why I think it's essential and why I don't really question it all too much. Because I've seen the proof in Mum, because she has done an incredible job raising us kids and fighting for her marriage and sticking in there like with life when things have been tough. So yeah, she's amazing.
But despite believing in equality, Honor doesn't identify herself as a feminist.
There should always be a level of grace about what anybody believes and a level of grace around how much you share as well, personally, I think. Like, I wouldn't call myself a feminist, but I also don't go around preaching to people either that I'm a Christian, because I think that at the end of the day, it's more important to have a relationship with someone than for someone to know all of your opinions.
After hearing the stories of these women, we turn to experts and leaders within and outside of the Christian community to provide some answers. We wanted to know what would make a young woman stay or leave the church. So we turned to people like Judith McKenzie, head of the Anglican Women's Association in New Zealand.
I think there are so many other things that you can do on a Sunday. You can go shopping and play sport, and there are so. And also, I think one of the hard things, particularly for women, is that they work. And the young married women have to juggle families, children, husband.
Former youth leader Jess Tull believes women may leave the church because of their ideas of what it should be.
I think a lot of people can maybe put their trust in the church or the organisation more than their trust in God. And it doesn't matter where you go, no one's perfect and no one says the right thing all the time. But if you put your trust in God, who will never fail you, then you can't be disappointed.
Dr. Caroline Blythe, Head of Religious Studies at the University of Auckland, believes it can be the biblical teachings themselves that could turn a young woman away from the faith.
And I think that some church and Christian communities do use biblical teachings to relegate women to a more subservient place, and also to bring shame upon women, say for exercising some agency in how they navigate their sexuality or what they choose to do with their life or the gender roles that they want to adopt. And so I think at times, the Bible is used, it's sort of held up as, we talk about the Bible being used as a cultural prop. It's held up to kind of prop up sort of patriarchal or misogynistic ideologies, whether or not the Bible says that in the text. I think it does have the potential to be used harmfully to sort of keep women in their place. And I think that's women of all ages, but I think it can impact young women in particular.
Judith believes that women who stay in the church will see the progress that has been made in leadership.
In the Anglican Church, there are women priests, and there have been for 40 years in New Zealand. And they play a very important role in the life of the church, and I think it's good to have both men and women ordained.
Jess agrees and says she has never truly encountered inequality within her church upbringing.
Women have something original to give God created man and female different for a reason, and I think that we should be proud of who we are and be our best self.
But Dr. Blythe believes we shouldn't be celebrating yet when it comes to equality within the church.
Each church and each church community, each Christian community will be very different. I mean, I think there is, but I think overall, I think there is a long way to go. I think there's been huge progress in the way that many church communities now include women much more, that they give them leadership roles and women can take a much more active part. But at the same time, I mean, I wouldn't want to paint the picture to be too bright, because I think the church, the Christian church, like many religious traditions, is sort of founded on patriarchy and male leadership and women's sort of subservient roles. And that's certainly still a big part of Christianity. And as I say, it is being challenged. And some churches and Christian communities are really working hard to challenge that. But there's still a lot of work to be done.
Many can see progress happening in and around the church and the strides being taken for equal rights. But for these girls, all that matters now is their personal journey they took to find out who they are and the choices they made to get there.
I think, it's hard to be able to believe in something that doesn't always feel tangible. I mean, doesn't really make sense. That's kind of the point of faith.
Christianity offers people a community, and that's quite important. And for the people that works with, I think that's really great. It just didn't really work for me.
Christianity, at the end of the day, it comes down to, and being a Christian, it just comes down to love, and that's love full stop. It's not love, but it's not love and it's just love.